Let me pull up my video so you can see my face here. My name is Bjorn Zreloff, and I'm glad to be here with you all today. And on the behalf of Cognition360 and Pia, welcome. This is a live webinar, and it'll also be recorded. And so if you're not listening to it live, when you ever do listen to it, you're welcome as well. Thank you for your interest, and we'll hope you find a nugget or two that you can bring back to your teams and hopefully get some operational efficiency and effectiveness initiatives going. So I'm going to do the best I can today to facilitate this conversation with Nic and Aaron, Nic Ferraro and Aaron Kennedy. And hopefully you guys can pop up your beautiful faces here and join me. Just leave this slide up here for a second. Nic is the COO of Pia and Aaron's the CEO of Cognition. And the brief introduction that I want to make is I'm a fan of products that have been built out of business problems and use cases. And in this case, both of these gentlemen have been part of or are actively part of providing solutions that are born out of specifically IT service provider MSP problems. And that's right up my alley. So we could probably be here for many hours talking about solutions and problems that exist within any business, but specifically IT service providers. But before we get into this, why don't we go to the next slide? I just want to remind you guys about the questions. Please submit questions. We'll get to them as best as we can. A couple more housekeeping items. We are going to have a couple of special offers. There will also be a poll. So be on the lookout for that. And this is going to be a very conversational style. That's the goal anyway, so that you get some real feedback and understanding of what these two products are about. So Nic, why don't I start with you? If you wouldn't mind, Pia is relatively new to me, and I'm sure other folks that are out there, and that's probably why the attendees are as many as they are, or at least that registered. And love for you to expand on, hey, you're COO of this Pia organization. Who are you? What is it?
Yeah, sure. But thanks, Bjorn, and thanks, Aaron, and the Cognition360 team for having me on. So Pia, we have launched into market July 27 this year, to be exact. Now, that's the accumulation of 4 years of work behind the scenes. So as you mentioned, I'm a real believer in recognizing problems and being able to overcome them, especially within the MSP space. It's a real intimate space. So Pia was born and bred out of an MSP, one of the most well-known in Australia, called Virtual IT Group. And about 4 years ago, our founder had come up with the idea to look at the automation of what you would consider the level 1 and level 2 tickets. So a lot of the mundane day-to-day work, which really takes up the time of engineers. So 4 years ago, we had developed the early iteration or the idea around Pia. 2 years of work went into it before we developed a proof of concept that we then plugged into Virtual IT Group as an MSP. And a further 2 years of development after that of what we consider to be the alpha program. And we came up with what we see today, or a really mature product in the form of Pia. So what actually is Pia? So Pia is an intelligent automation platform for the service desk. We automate service desk tickets end to end. And when I say that, and that's why I really want to emphasize the fact that it is end-to-end service ticket automation. So where we differ from any PA players or any workflow management tools is that we integrate into MSP's ticketing system. We are PSA agnostic. We were born and bred out of utilizing ConnectWise, but we are PSA agnostic. And from day one, our intent was to work into the flow of the MSP. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to develop a new PSA. We didn't want to develop a new way of doing things. So for us, it's about how we plug in to the MSP's processes, but ensure that automation becomes front and center to allow them to speed up, make more efficient, make more consistent the way of doing tickets. So as currently stands, we have about 55 packages. So when I say packages, that's 55 different ticketing scenarios that we have developed. And that's everything from password reset, user onboarding, user termination, Teams troubleshooting. And I want to rattle off a couple of the, I guess, the stats that we have seen as part of the Alpha program, and then subsequently the Beta program, where we had seen service desk engineers on average complete 10 tickets per day. They're now doing 40 plus.
Wow.
Now, and as a 2 years.
So really, and then the question is really to prove that, and that's where, we're going to get into how Cognition can help with that. But yeah, so you're really seeing 10 to 40 in the Alpha. Okay.
Absolutely. And key to that is when I say automation, what I mean is that, and we'll show, if we can pull up a screen of what it actually looks like, probably gives a bit more context. The automated process means that instead of having to log into different line of business apps, and let's use user onboarding, for example, instead of going into different line of business apps, different portals, etc., everything is automated within the background. So what you see there is essentially a chatbot, and we've purposely done that for ease of use. But in the background, this integrates into IT Glue, Azure Active Directory. It's able to purchase licenses with the Office 365. Right? And that activity log on the side shows all the PowerShell scripting in the background, which is the heart and soul of the automation process in the background. And probably the final piece to add is that we are truly a SaaS company. And when I say that, it's that we are continuing to develop scripting in the background. We have a whole bunch of automation engineers, developers, solution architects. So we're continuing to develop a lot of these packages at pace.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess for me, the proof's always in the pudding. And when somebody throws out stats at me, and I'm not skeptical. I'm a believer.
You are skeptical. Yeah, you can say.
I'm skeptical of everything.
All right. Well, okay.
And I think it was with Cognition360, the first time Sue had told me, look, Aaron's very skeptical. He's not going to believe.
So that's a great transition to Aaron, right? So
she knows
Aaron,
me well.
Mr. Skeptical, so from your perspective, can you give a quick background on Cognition360 for those that don't know it, and then kind of dovetail into the skepticism that you can help uncover and reduce maybe?
Sure. So at Cognition360, what we do is we provide analytics for MSPs. So we're looking at trending, forecasting, which way is the business turning, and we do everything from quote to cash. So it's not like we just focus on just projects or just service, whatever. We're looking at the business as a whole. So we pull data out of the PSA, whether it's Cognition or ConnectWise or Autotask. And then we are making assessments about that and kind of predicting like, hey, this customer is not going to be profitable, but dig into that on the service level to see why. So where this is actually, I'm really excited about this webinar and doing this today. I met Nic and the team up at DattoCon a couple of months ago. And then just the product has got so much interest. It's just amazing. And Nic, you said you guys really kind of went in July. Is that what you said?
Yeah, July 27th. Yeah,
that like blew my mind when you just said that now, because I didn't even know that. Just the amount of, obviously people are trying to do more with less. You kind of hear that whole thing, and it's kind of like, yeah, but I mean, there's only so much you can actually do. Here's a product that actually can feasibly address that kind of thing. So doing things like moving from 10 to 40, I mean, heck, even using 10 to 20 would be incredible. But moving in that sort of operational efficiency is great. Now, the skeptical side of me says, hey, any product that's out there that claims to do something super awesome, is it kind of too good to be true? To me, any of the products that have come into the MSP space that have not been born out of an MSP tend to be a lot of smoke and mirrors. Obviously not always the case, or it just doesn't really apply to us. Like, it's a great IT tool, but it's not great for the MSP. So Cognition was born out of that. We just struggled with that need internally at the MSP, where it's like we're trying to pull real data out of the in a way that's, you don't have to hire a full Power BI team and have tons and tons of time dumped into that. That's why we went to and said, hey, this is something that everybody else could use. You guys sounds like you did the same thing. Those to me seem like always the best products that resonate with people in the MSP space. And can really help people, as opposed to just, hey, it's another tool that just does something for me that I don't even really know that I'm paying for. So what we would be able to do in working with Pia is talking about things like, that metric that Nic just mentioned, moving from, hey, I closed 10 tickets on average today to 40. Well, we would be able to easily see that in Cognition and be able to tell trending and forecasting and which technicians are using Pia and which are not, and any things like that, where we can see those operational metrics. We're data nerds, so we love to see, like, I used to, it's not the same shirt, but I used to have a shirt that said, that's a great story, now show me the data. So it's one of those things, like, to me, I'm always, and maybe that's why Sue was saying that I'm a little bit skeptical, but it's definitely like, you see some products out of there that are a whole lot of talk and marketing, and then when you really dig down to it, it's just like they just do one thing. Whereas, if you understand the underlying, like, you're using PowerShell scripting, you're using, you got an activity log, so you're being transparent about what's happening in the background, and you're telling people, like, right away, use it at your own MSP for close to 2 years. I mean, if it was some sort of issue with that, then obviously you wouldn't use it internally and be as successful as you guys were. So we've seen that already in data that we've run on customers that are using Pia, and seen those metrics, and it's really impressive. And that's kind of why I'm circling back to kind of why I'm excited about it. I skipped a couple slides about what we do, but what we provide all these reporting for customers already. So they don't have to go build all these reports and figure out which metrics they need to do and then maintain them and that kind of stuff. And that's primarily what we do. So Nic, I'm sure one of the big questions that you're getting is, hey, it looks really cool, but how well does it actually work? Like, what do you get? What do you say to that?
Look, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, people are born skeptics, and you touch on a point there, which is important. It's you talk about BI. I found, and I don't know if you found the same, that the amount of noise in market of products claiming to do things, right? That's half the battle. Whether it be around providing data and insights, whether it be around AI, machine learning, whether it be around automation. So, circling back to your question, that's why the proof is in the pudding. So where we do see skeptics say, yes, I've heard this before, and I've heard that many times. We run customers through our demos, MSPs through our demos, and we're able to showcase that live, exactly what we do, exactly what our packages are able to do. And working with you guys and the data that you provide, that's why I think all the synergies exist between us, because, as you said, the proof is in the data, and we've shown that. So with our first beta partner in Australia, we were able to showcase that we were able to recognize 400 plus hours per month that we were able to save them, and that was in the first 4 weeks. So literally, this is talking to the CEO, right? So
So Nic, talk about that as far as okay, let's say I'm curious, I want to see this, I want to see the proof of the pudding. Can you talk through a little bit of, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I think it makes sense now because that's where my brain's going, is what is it, what's the timeline from contacting you and saying, hey, I want to give this a shot? What does that look like? What's that process look like?
Yeah, so demo is obviously instantaneous, but in terms of if you're talking about the implementation process, that's something that we've been working on significantly. So with the Alpha and Beta program, we've gone from about 6 weeks of what you consider implementation. We've now got that down to a day and a half. So literally what that requires is identifying the champions within the MSP, and then we work with them. We provide all the collateral via our Pia Learn portal. We provide a partner success manager. We have a project management office or partner delivery lead and partner integration manager that works with the MSP. So we were cognizant of that from the very beginning as well. Often products, let's say, sold in to a particular organization, but then the onboarding process, we've experienced this firsthand, drags on for weeks, months. There's issues, there's errors. It takes you weeks to get in touch with partner success managers, right? Well, again, come back to the point that we're born out of an MSP. So we've seen it. We wear all of the scars and the bruises from it. So the process end to end is pretty simple. We get in touch with the project management office. They implement it within a day and a half. That includes spinning up a tenant, integration into the ticketing system, spin up of the agent. Then the partner success manager is holding your hand along the way. We have all of the training and development materials there. And the ask is that you identify the 2 or 3 peer champions internally that become the subject matter experts and work with our team. Our team, even though we launched July 27, I should add this, we're a team now of 70 strong. We're self-funded as an organization. We're 70 strong. That includes about 50 plus developers, 6 or 7 partner success managers now, our project management team. So it's certainly not it's set to a degree, it's set and forget with regards to the MSP, but for us as a true SaaS company, we're there for the whole journey.
Yeah, so I think, and then dovetail that into, the Cognition360 side, right? It's it's all about the ConnectWise data, or if we're talking about ConnectWise today, right? So whatever data source we're talking about, but what is the, I'll ask you, Aaron, first, what is your experience been as far as the accuracy of the ConnectWise data in order to create meaningful proofs in the pudding, right? So, the data that you're getting out of ConnectWise, how dirty is it, and what does it take to get relatively clean to get some positive, actionable insights?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a big question. So yeah, in general, what we've been able to do, and the reason Cognition has been successful, is be able to make it where the reporting can still work, even if the data is not perfect. And to be totally honest, nobody's got really perfect data. So we have to make our products to be able to work with where MSPs are. And so, we get into some machine learning and that kind of stuff to help like categorize tickets and do some stuff like that. And, if I can get machine learning to be 90% accurate on categorizing tickets, then that's better than most MSPs are doing out there by far. So yeah, it's one of those things like, hey, I want to start using your products once I get my data clean, but it's really one of those, the more you use the product, it encourages you to clean up the data and you kind of know what to expect. So where because we are building these reports for you and we're already telling you, these are the metrics that you need to be hitting. And this is what ultimately drives your bottom line. One of those being technician efficiency metrics. We're able to point you in the right direction of, hey, even though your data is not perfect here, you can kind of see where you're heading and hone that data over time and become better about being a culture of data, as opposed to just, hey, my data's got to be perfect or it's not as black and white as that. So I do have a little bit of a surprise. My team were able to work on some metrics for to show a customer that was using Pia before and after. I want to share that slide with you guys real quick. So this is in the Cognition product. So if you're familiar with Power BI interface, we use Power BI to present all of our data. So what you can see here, so these are just general trends of service desk. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
So this is how much time am I putting in per ticket? How many tickets am I working per day? What's my first call resolution, et cetera. So these are very familiar ticket type metrics, and you can change this to whatever, team you want to look at or time period. But one of my favorite things to do, and we actually started this at COVID, was looking at before and after a change comes in the company. So in COVID, it was, hey, we sent everybody home. What does my profitability look like after we sent all my technicians home? Or, we implemented this tool, whatever. And so what this is actually showing you would be, pre and post, how much time are you spending towards ticket, or that kind of thing, where you can see this kind of metrics. So if you sign up for Pia, you would be able to see these kind of metrics right away and be able to figure out, hey, are we actually moving the needle here or not? Now, obviously, being able to close 40 tickets, you're going to see those metrics pretty drastically across the board. And more importantly, at the bottom line. So everything kind of feeds back into financial. And I do another webinar with another guy where we talk about service profitability, but doing that from a financial lens, because a lot of service technicians just get stuck in, hey, I got to close tickets in 3.2 gigawatts or, whatever the metric is that they want to talk about. But ultimately, you got to view that from a financial lens, which is what Pia, to me, is really addressing. Is number one, I can make my existing technicians a lot more efficient, but also the level of employee that I need to hire at certain various skill sets, that may change. And then over time, what that's going to do is obviously drive that bottom line where you're going to see increase in profit, which is now going to allow those technicians to focus on, here's the things that I want to be working on. I don't want to spend, 99% of my day just resetting passwords. If I can get a bot to do that for me, then to me, that's gold. So that's employee retention too at that point. So it's all these things just kind of feed off of each other. So Nic, if you want to sign me up for your sales team, I'm just going to go ahead and join over there.
Yeah, that's why I'm letting you do your thing. I like it.
It's just so exciting to me that something out there is doing this. Cause back in the day, I made PowerShell scripts back when I was an engineer that would do something, disable a service or whatever. But being able to do it in a productized way that can sit inside a ConnectWise or your PSA and identify stuff, and it's right there, and I could just do that kind of stuff automatically. To me, that's I'm thinking back when I was sitting at the service desk working tickets, and back then it was I killed 12 tickets a day. Man, if I sat somebody next to that was using Pia and he's doing 40 and I'm only doing 12, I'd be like, how do I get the Pia stuff?
I'm excited that we turn a skeptic into a promoter. Like, job done. Yeah.
So we've got a couple of questions here that we're gonna get put on the spot, but I want to honor the questions here. One, we will provide somebody's asking for the URL to Pia, so if we can just put that out there. I think it's just pia.ai, right?
Yeah, pia.ai.
Yeah. So it's one of the shortest URLs, one of the shortest URLs I've ever heard of. So that's that. The other one is, this one's a little more challenging. So it's can we see Pia in action, right? So it's hard to evaluate a tool without actually seeing how it works or it's set up, capabilities. Basically what we're talking about is not seeing how we can leverage this into our MSP. So I don't know, we didn't necessarily prepare that for today, as we don't have that long. That's it's 30 minutes. So Nic, why don't can you just address that question and how you'd like to handle it?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of ways. So first, we always conduct demos. So one-on-one with a potential partner. So after this, my details will go up there. So in addition to the website where you can send your details, and we'll pick that up and provide you to the team to be able to do that demo, pia.ai, and fill out the form. You'll also get my direct email address. So drop me a line and we'll set up a one-to-one demo for that very reason. For us, it's in our benefit to actually showcase in real life.
That being said, let me go ahead and throw up this poll real quick. Sorry to jump in here because I think this will just help out to navigate that. So you should see on your screen a poll for Pia if you're interested in jumping into that and meeting with them and setting up that demo. Just hit that yes, and we'll make sure that you're registered on that front end. And then, of course, I'll provide contact info later, and then you can go to their website as well, too. But I'm going to go ahead and just leave that up on the screen for just a minute. You guys can keep talking about that, though.
Yeah, cool. And so hopefully that addresses that one. Absolutely, we'll run a one-to-one demo. There was a couple of other questions I'd actually answered in parallel. One was around, can you do multiple tickets at the same time? Yes. In fact, that's part of the magic, let's call it. So most of our partners do 4 to 6 tickets at any given time. Another example that we can show via the demo. Question around Office 365. And so I'd answered these in parallel, which is why I'll bring it up. So Office 365, we in the early new year, we'll also be working with Google. Sorry, Bjorn, I'll throw it back over to you.
No worries. The other question that kind of dovetails into sort of the benefits of Pia and of implementing Pia, right? Other than tech efficiency is the question. What are the benefits, that you highlight or talk to? And to me, one of the things that we talked about, chat about earlier, or last week, I should say, was this and Aaron mentioned it. I'm a level 1 tech, just coming in brand new. I got a lot of energy, right? And I want to learn as fast as I can. And then I kind of get bogged down in the password resets and how long am I going to have to do this before I can move on to learning some other things. So I think one of the things we can talk about is retention of employees. I think you mentioned one of your beta or alpha increase their retention or reduce their churn, right? So maybe that's a benefit you can talk about in others.
Correct. And this question is no surprise. I was waiting for it to pop up. We began this journey talking about tech efficiency, bottom line. I don't think that's a surprise. What was somewhat of a surprise was in our discussions with what is now hundreds of MSPs, the talk around what I call the human element. So we've all seen within an MSP what I call the double-edged sword. So you have those technicians who are fantastic at level 1, level 2 tickets. They're great at their job. They're continuing to churn tickets, but they want to do more complex projects. As a leader within the business or an owner of the business, you're saying, yeah, great, but you want to keep them on the service desk because they're so fantastic. So ultimately what that leads to is churn. Where Pia is able to come in is that it's able to assist and drive those level 1, level 2 tickets, freeing up the engineer to start focusing on their more complex projects and giving them a development plan for their career. The other benefits includes focus on value-added activities. So we've been there where we know that project work, so it sits in the background. It's a bit of a pain because you need the resourcing, how you scale up, how to scale down. This allows you to do that. So you're able to focus on your top line by being able to redirect focus to those value-added activities. The churn thing is, we've seen it. With all the MSPs, they're able to retain their top talent, which onto itself talks to a current issue, which is the lack of available engineers out in the marketplace. We have seen the salaries go up, availability of resources go down. So that presents a problem in itself. Where am I able to find engineers? Yep. And then the final point that I'll touch on has really become apparent. You have those who are really happy with their current engineers. However, they're looking to scale. Mergers and acquisitions is front and center from every event that I've been to. You have M&A days and evenings and weeks. Then the problem is, how do I scale up? So Pia has really come into be as that ability to retain your current engineers or sales staff while scaling up at a rate of 30-40% without needing to add additional engineers. So we've seen that. We've seen that in practice. So that's just some of the benefits.
Awesome. No, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised to hear that about. I just didn't connect that dot, right? Or it wasn't top of mind. So that was definitely a paradigm shift about retention and reducing the churn. Another question here: pricing structure. Somebody's asking about Pia and pricing structure. You mind addressing that, Nic?
Yeah, absolutely. So we charge per endpoint per month. And the question comes up, what do we consider per endpoint? So we roll out an agent onto devices. So that's the endpoint that we charge by. Now that endpoint is very light. And the reason why we went down the route instead of attaching ourselves to, say, a ConnectWise agent is because of speed. The speed at which we could do things was we were hamstrung. So we created our own proprietary light agent. But the pricing, so at $3 per endpoint. However, and you'll put up the offer at the end of this session for this presentation and at the events that we've been in, where we're going at $2.
Yeah. So mention this, when you guys are on one of those demos, make sure to do that. Same thing's true with Cognition360. So what we're doing is we're doing a free onboarding with up to $4.99 if you want to sign up for us. And you can start looking at those analytics. I'm going to throw up one of those polls as well for Cognition360. If you're interested in getting those analytics and trending on your MSP, just say yes there, and we'll make sure to reach out to you as well.
Yeah, well, we've got that poll up. So that's the pricing part. The next one here is users. So is this only about users with 365, Google, or other platforms or portal support? I think you answered that earlier, Nic, but is there anything to add to that?
What I'll add is integrations. So the platform being, whether it's Office 365 or Google, other platforms and portals. So we integrate into, I think, whether it be ThreatLocker, whether it be PAX 8. So we have an integrations team solely dedicated to working with vendors. And we work across the board with vendor integration. So now, when I mention Office 365 or Google, that's purely at the level of our users of that software, but no, integrations for vendors is across the board. And we have a complete product roadmap as well, which we can show.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and dovetailing to that is another question about, besides tech efficiency, is there anything that Pia does to help administration, adding, removing computers from contracts, bills, etc.? So I don't know if those integrations with Pax8, if you've gotten into that yet.
Yeah, that is on the roadmap for Q3, which is from January to March next year. So certainly something, and that's come from Joseph, certainly reach out, and that'll be another conversation around our future product roadmap. And that's sooner rather than later.
Okay. Global admin domain rights to perform the automation tasks. Does Pia require that?
Does that require, so is this a question from Andrew?
Marcos up top. It's before Joseph.
Does Pia require global admin rights to perform automation tasks?
Okay, no, it does not.
Okay. How do you determine licensing? We have some customers who are co-managed, and we would only want this to work for the customers we provide end user support for.
Yeah, that often comes up, and we would work with you. So as part of that onboarding process, we would work to understand your client base, and certainly where we have co-managed, it's a different scenario to those fully managed as part of your managed services agreements. So we will look at that with you as part of implementation and onboarding.
Okay. Another great question. I haven't thought about this, but if this is an anonymous attendee here, can we add our own automations if we have scripting skills?
Yes, is a short answer to that one. Yes,
okay.
We can. So we have the capability, functionality, where we allow the partner to be able to develop their own scripting. Now, obviously, it's within, because we are a software as a service company, we continue to develop scripting, and we're in the process now of developing what I call a product community, where we pull together our key partners to start looking at that roadmap. So we have our roadmap, but I really want to move to a state where we are partner driven. So we will prioritize based on what is coming from the partner community. That's been a goal of mine or ambition of mine from the very beginning. So whilst that capability is there, it absolutely can be done. We're happy to work with you to look at how we prioritize within our roadmap to avoid the need for the partner themselves or the MSP to develop their own scripting. It's worth actually adding, because you touched on it earlier, a number of now partners whom we have onboarded came to us with the view that they had gone down, and Aaron, you touched on it. They had been developing PowerShell scripting for some time. Then, as you know, if they're not maintained, things break. And so over time, it becomes a bit of a Pandora's box. So a number of partners, and I'll count this on 2 or 3 hands, have then said, this is fantastic. I can now pull back from developing my own scripting and just jump on with you guys and let you manage that. So I wanted to add that as well as we talk about the scripting, because yes, we have the capability, but we can also work with you, and the onus is on us to help develop.
Awesome. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's keep going through the questions here, if you don't mind. This is from Brent. Is the commitment month to month, or is there an onboarding fee?
We have gotten rid of the onboarding.
Not or, fee. I'm sorry, it's an and. My bad.
And I'll answer it as an and. So the onboarding fee, no, we don't have an onboarding fee. We did, but we've chosen, as part of the offer, we really want to work with the partners around the onboarding. So no is a short answer to that. Is a commitment month to month. So we do have a 12-month agreement. However, something that you haven't put up in the offer that I'm happy to do is to look at a 3-month agreement, which then means the proof is in the pudding, right? In more ways than one. So we're happy to commit to a 3-month agreement and then move to a state of, if you're happy with what you are seeing, then we move to a 12-month agreement. So there you go. Put in a special offer on the fly. My CEO doesn't know about it, so.
That's awesome. This is a question from Rob. With putting agents on every device, how are you mitigating Kaseya-like attacks?
Ooh,
okay, Kaseya-like attacks, not life. Can't read today.
That's a question for my CISO. No, in a serious note, we take security very seriously. And that's not a throwaway line. From day one, we've had a CIO and CISO. ISO 27001 accreditation, we are 90% there. At last check-in a few days ago. HIPAA, GDPR, we're present in the UK, US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So we're ticking all the boxes. So we take that seriously. But genuinely, that is a question for my CISO, who's developed a number of white papers and is undertaking the accreditation across the board as well.
And if I remember, you were ISO certified at your MSP, right? You guys went through ISO. Is that correct? Okay, so you have experience
Absolutely.
at that level, which is probably more common outside of the United States, in my experience, than it is in the States. But I could be wrong on that. I certainly don't have any data to back that up. But that speaks to the maturity level, I guess, and process and awareness. And when you're dealing with GDPR in Europe and other countries, it's a whole nother can of wax, ball of wax. So can you provide a list of the 50 packages? So the 50 packages that you're talking about? Yeah.
I can, and I'm happy to provide that after this session. Bjorn and Aaron, if you want to send it out to the team.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So that's an action item for us. Great question. So, and the last one that I have here in the queue, unless I've missed one, is the anonymous person here. You've mentioned 365, Azure AD, and Google. Does it work with local Windows domains?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We've developed it. Yeah, it does.
Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions in the queue. Anything that Aaron or Nick that you want to add that we haven't touched on yet today? I know we could talk forever, but sort of highlights, bullets you want to leave us with.
The only thing I got is we do have an open demo for, now this is just for Cognition 360. So we're actually doing this tomorrow. I'll throw this link in the chat here if you want to sign up for that. And there it is right there. And then here's contact information for both Nick and myself. So if you want to reach out to us, you can do that directly. Again, we got the demo requests, so we'll get those. But here's our contact info. If you have any questions, reach out to us, and I'll just leave that up on the screen.
Fantastic. How about you, Nick? Anything else?
For me, it's a big thank you once again for the team for having me and everyone attending. It's been great especially the questions, right? The range of questions is fantastic. And we love getting all these questions and going through them and providing that level of assurance. But certainly reach out. Happy to do a one-to-one demo. It's what we do. If you have any further questions, drop us a line, check out the website or fill out the form or contact me directly. We'll provide those automations. But again, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome, Nick. Yeah. Thank you very much. The questions were great, everybody, for those who were here with us. And
last thing real quick, somebody just threw in,
will
you be at IT Nation? So we'll be at IT Nation. I know Pia will be at IT Nation. So we'll be there to answer questions and stuff. We got some teams going down. That's just like 2 weeks away. So I'm getting all my sleep in right now. But
it's coming up quick, right?
Yeah,
it is.
Should be a fun one. So we'll see you guys there if you're headed down. Pia and Cognition 360 will both be there.
Yeah, and mention this webinar as well, that you've seen us at the webinar. So
that's
obviously the option is there.
Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome, everybody. Nick, thank you.
Yes,
Aaron, thank you. Thanks for letting me be here with you guys and learn a little bit more about Pia. And yeah, everybody that attended, thank you. And please reach out if you have any other questions. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.
See y'all.
Take care.
Thanks all.
All right, bye-bye.